Hi, I'm Anna Marie Cox, and Dan, prep the helicopter. We must go to Thailand.
Hi, I'm Daniel Dresner, and Anna, 8-year-olds hear everything.
Welcome to Space the Nation, where we look at science fiction through the lens of
Evolutionary biology.
And continental drift. We both went very literal for our not even quite theories that we're applying today.
This is the kind of movie that makes you go pretty literal, Anna. There's not a lot of layers in it. I mean, there's like that.
There's sea layers.
There's sea layers, but
there's thermal layers. But what are we talking about? What is it, the kind of movie that you can't be anything but literal about? It is.
We are talking about The Meg.
It's available to watch on, I almost did it again, Max. It's available on Max.
Max. Yes.
Max. Not the other thing that it used to be, but no. Max.
Not the streaming service formerly known as HBO Max, but Max.
Oh, ding, you have to pay a screenwriter.
Oh, fair enough. Okay. Yep.
It's available other places too. We're also going to be talking about, Dan,
Meg 2, The Trench.
And then some other stuff. We're kind of in a free, loosey-goosey area of the schedule that, It's summer. We're still figuring things out. It's that
we might have a
period.
summer I think we're going to be doing a summer wrap-up episode of stuff that we haven't really talked about explicitly but want to get to, things like Season 2 of Foundation and Strange New Worlds and Secret Invasion, what have you. We might do that.
Been loving Strange New Worlds.
Yes. Did you watch the crossover episode?
I did. And I think it might have sold me on Lower Decks.
I am glad to hear that, Anna.
Which I had tried on your recommendation and not really just
got into it.
It had not clicked, but that episode was really wonderful.
That's good.
Very charming. But this would be a good time for people to suggest stuff if they had suggestions.
And, Anna, the way to suggest stuff, I mean, there are lots of ways you can get in touch with us, but the best way to get in touch with us on this very question is to access our Discord channel. And the proper way to access that Discord channel is to become a patron.
Only way.
Yes, that's correct. You can't buy your way onto
the Discord channel. Well, you literally can buy. Actually.
You can, but you have to actually become a patron.
Yes.
You can't do it. We will not accept side payments. You're not going to be able to bribe us. You actually just have to officially become a patron. You've got to own your patronage, Anna. And so if you go to patreon.com/spacethenation, for as little as $3 a month, you can become a patron. Get access to the Discord. Get early access to podcasts. Get access to our monthly AUAs. Get access to our newsletters. There's merch in a sort of theoretical conceptual thing.
It's been 3 years working on it.
Yeah. Just say it. Tell your friends and neighbors. If otherwise, rate and review our show. All of that is really good. But if you need to get in touch with us, Anna, how can they do that?
Well, if they're not going to become a patron, which is the best way.
Anna, what are other ways that our listeners can get in touch with us? These suboptimal ways.
Suboptimal ways.
Do not involve. Yes.
It's probably via social media, Dan. Mm-hmm. Speaking of suboptimal, like things that are suboptimal.
Yes.
These days.
It's just a thick, toxic soup out there. Anna and I are both on Blue Sky. We are both on Mastodon. I still lurk on Twitter. I am at all these things at Dan
Sorry,
Dresner.
What do you lurk on?
Oh, I'm so sorry. I apologize. I lurk on X. I am so mad you made me say that, Anna. I'm so mad about that. Yes. I'm just calling it Twitter. I'm sorry. It's like being asked to call the Sears Tower the Willits Tower. I know it's called the Willits Tower formerly. I'm still calling it the goddamn Sears Tower, okay?
Or HBO Max. It's sort of like that.
There we go. Yeah. Okay, fair enough.
I am also on Instagram. Dan is not on Instagram because he doesn't like cute animals, I guess. I don't know. But if you like cute animals, I am on Instagram mainly to show off my cute animals. Mm-hmm. Also, other cool stuff in my life, like what I've seen on my run these days.
Ooh, okay.
Before it gets to be 100 degrees out here in Austin, I go on runs. I found a pair of Star Spangled Bannered underwear the other day out of my run. So
nice. Okay.
Good stuff. And also, I have a website.
I believe it is called www.annamariecox.com.
That's right. Spelled the same way, pronounced a little bit different. I teach a writing workshop that'll be starting up again in the fall. And Dan, you do other stuff in addition to being a podcaster.
I have a Substack. It's called Dresner's World. I'm also on Threads at Real Dan Dresner. I occasionally write for, outlets, and as does Anna.
Yep.
So, we'll let you know when those things come out.
Outlets.
Yes.
Yeah, it's all media.
Outlets.
It's just all media. Yep. One big.
All
speaking of toxic soup of things. Speaking of toxic soup of things, Dan, how are you?
I'm actually doing well, Anna, and I'm going to say something. I think by the time this podcast comes out, this isn't going to sound extraordinary, but at the time we are recording it, this is extraordinary. I've completed my fall syllabi. Yes. Which, let me put it this way, this is actually triggering to fellow academics because, you would think that with months to prepare that we would actually be done with our fall syllabi. No, it winds up always usually being a mad scramble in the second half of August because we're all busy trying to write other stuff and so forth. And so I actually had some fun on Blue Sky saying, people can sometimes say toxic things here too. For example, I'm done with my syllabi, and all my academic friends just so pissed off by that. It was great. It was worth it.
Well, that's great, Dan. Anything particularly interesting on your syllabi? You teach some interesting classes sometimes, End of the World, whatnot.
So this fall I'll be teaching two courses. One is on global political economy. The other is Power in Theory and Practice, which is a seminar course.
Not so many zombie movies then. Not so many cool
No, sorry.
For the podcast.
But I am teaching the End of the World course in the spring of 2024. So that'll come up then.
All right, cool.
How are you, Anna?
I'm pretty good. It is murderously hot here. Mm-hmm. In Austin, Texas. However, I got an e-bike recently.
Ooh, how's that going?
It's great, and it is hot, but I've been riding it in the mornings. I'm gonna going to my Pilates class via my e-bike, which sounds weird, but
I'm sorry, I'm laughing at that.
It's like the whitest thing I can possibly do.
I hate to say this. Our previous episode was they cloned Tyrone, and I almost thought one of the conversations I wanted to have about that was, what are the white people things that are the equivalent of fried chicken that would be used to brainwash white people? And my thought was Pilates and kale. So, yeah. Yes.
Well, yeah. Although, that doesn't quite work for the reasons that we talked about in the episode, but...
Yeah.
But yes, but taking my e-bike to Pilates, if I'd only had gone to to get a juice at some point,
there you go.
That would have made it the white person trifecta. But
that's true.
As an old lady, pedal assist is a real winner. I'm not ashamed of it. I enjoy being able to go on the bike ride and do Pilates, and not both of them wiping me out. Anyway, e-bikes.
That's good.
Great things, not just for old people, probably.
Excellent.
Why are we talking about the Meg, Dan?
Anna, I don't think we've done a Jason Statham vehicle on this podcast. And, if we're going to discuss The Rock and Vin Diesel and Butler Vember vehicles, it only makes sense, that we include, Jason Statham, particularly because he's, a Fast and Furious compadre of Vin Diesel and The Rock. Also, it's the summer, and this is a film about a big dumb shark chasing big dumb people. I mean, this is our wheelhouse, right?
Yeah. Well, I think regular listeners know how I feel about big dumb things. I love them. Mm-hmm. I had one of those things as my husband once. So, and I loved him very much until I didn't. But Big and Dumb,
right,
my jam. And excellent. I've seen this and I was excited to see it again. I enjoyed it again. Mm-hmm. Second time around, it's not quite as enjoyable.
Right. I have to say, I think this is one of those films where I think I enjoyed it a lot the first time. But also I think I enjoyed it because I watched it in a theater with other people. I think there's something enjoyable about watching this and laughing at it to some extent with other people. Yeah.
So Dan, next question. Yes, will this podcast ruin the movie for people?
Nah. I mean... No. First of all, let's be blunt. We're not talking about, Citizen Kane on the sea here. There is one big plot twist, I suppose, that there's a legitimate plot. It's not the most surprising plot twist, but it's a plot twist. otherwise we're going to describe stuff, but really you have to see it to believe it.
Yeah.
Or disbelieve it.
Now, I would say that if you want to enjoy this movie to the maximum that you can, like
to the max,
as it were, to the limit it can be enjoyed. First of all, you should watch it with other people.
Yes.
Right? And you should watch it before listening to the podcast. And
Fair
I
enough.
do think it's an enjoyable movie. I think that it's a good laundry folder.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Well said. Yes.
Previous experience, Dan, you referenced having seen it in the theater.
I did. I, in fact, took my daughter to see this because my daughter shares my love for big, dumb movies.
Our love, Dan.
Our love for big, dumb movies, particularly in my daughter Lauren's case, it's not just big, dumb movies. It's also big, dumb movies that feature large animals. So, like, she also is a huge fan of Rampage with The Rock. And, anything that has a dragon in it.
Probably.
Yeah, it is. Pacific Rim, anything with kaijus in it. So this scratched that itch. And I'm going to take her when we go see, Meg 2, The Trench. So, yeah. So, what about you, Anna?
I saw this movie. I don't know. I don't think I saw it in the theater, but I remember when it came out. I remember it mostly because, do you remember the first Meg movie, Dan? It's on Discovery Channel during Shark Week.
No, I don't.
It was a documentary.
Oh, okay.
It was the 10th anniversary of a hoax that the Discovery Channel did for Shark Week, where they did a documentary, quote unquote documentary, about the discovery of a Meg.
Oh, no, I did not know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it fooled some people.
Of course it did.
One of them being my ex-husband. I remember like being in the apartment doing something and him like calling to me from the TV room being like, "Oh my God, Anna, you have to come and see this. Like, there's this prehistoric shark they've discovered." And I was like, name withheld. This is not a real documentary. He's like, "No, it's on the Discovery Channel."
Yeah, that actually is a problem when either National Geographic or Discovery Channel or one of those does that, because like.
And I was trying to like sort of like, how do you explain like the tells to someone really? Where I'm like, no, it's just not. It's just not. It's just not possible. Mm-hmm. Number one. Number two, there's all these little things about it. Like there's this like visual vocabulary. Like,
yeah, it's
hard to articulate exactly what tells you something is a hoax. But anyway, big and dumb. That's how I like them, Dan.
We'll be talking about that more a little bit later on.
Yes.
Let's get to the story behind the story. I'm just assuming that someone went to Hollywood and said, we've got an idea, Jason Statham, plus a big dumb CGI shark, plus references to China. And the money just started rolling in. Am I mistaken about this?
You are mistaken, Dan.
I am shocked by that. Oh my God.
Yeah, it was in development hell for like years.
Really?
Years and years and years. Yeah.
Wow.
It was also at one point attached to Guillermo del Toro, which I find fascinating. Wow. You know?
Oh, now I kind of want to know what Del Toro would have done with this, because, this was enjoyable, but that would have been amazing.
Instead he did the fish fucking movie. I can't remember the name of
the Shape of Water.
Yeah,
yes.
That one.
Don't get me started about the Shape of Water.
No, this is based on a book called Meg, a Novel of Deep Terror, which was published in.
Is it actually Meg, a Novel of Deep Terror? Is that actually the subtitle of the novel? Oh, it's amazing! That's great. Okay. We really should have done the book, yes.
Oh, yeah. So it was published in 1997 by Steve Altine, who, just by my read of the documentary evidence out there, seems like a real character. That is what I will say.
Sure.
He has a newsletter. He has a blog. He has lots of ideas about things that should be made into movies. He tried to write the script himself. Didn't work out. In 2005, reports surfaced that the project was being developed by New Line Cinema with a budget of $75 million to be released the next year. Jean de Bont as the director, Guillermo del Toro as the producer, and Shane Salerno as the screenwriter. These are all like Oscar nominees in there. Although Shane Salerno might be best known as the writer of Avatar. So, although, hey, lots of water lovers.
Yeah.
Here.
That's totally fine. Exactly. Yeah.
The project was canceled for budget and script concerns. and then it was moved to Warner Brothers and attached to Eli Roth as a director.
Oh, God. I'm just amazed at all the different directors that could have made this. Eli Roth?
Eli Roth.
Wow.
I guess it would have been a lot bloodier. That is my guess.
Oh, yeah. There would have been so much more gore. Good Lord.
Yeah. So eventually it's made, was a huge hit, as you may remember. Which brings me to a question, Dan.
Yes, Anna.
Was there IR in the making of this movie?
Anna, there is more IR in the making of this film than there is in this film, as we will discuss much later.
Is it like a shark eating a smaller shark?
Yeah, exactly. Yes. The IR in the making of this film would totally devour the IR that's in the IR in this film is like a tiny little morsel. It's like Pippin. Yeah. That's the way I would put it. You might have noticed in the film, Anna, that it is, how would I put this, very China friendly.
There's some shots of China. There's some shots of China. Famous Chinese actors.
There are major protagonists, there's actual dialogue in Mandarin. The finale is at Sanya Bay and so forth. That is because, while you are correct that Warner Brothers wound up making it, it was actually a co-production between Warner Brothers and Gravity Pictures in China, which also meant it enabled it to be a domestic release in China. Hollywood films very often have had difficulties in terms of trying to release in mainland China. They have often adjusted their scripts to try to please mainland China, or in some cases like Top Gun Maverick have just said fuck off. But did the Chinese, audience notice this in terms of the production of the film? Oh yes. In fact, they even joked, on Weibo, there was a lot of conversation about this film. They joked that even the shark kills were pro-China. Basically, a lot of people thought that in essence, when the Meg kills the Westerners, it's more gory and there's more blood. Whereas when the Meg goes to Sanya Bay, and we'll talk about this a little bit later, it seems much more bloodless. They were very aware of that. And that said, this is what folks like my colleagues Victor Cha and Andy Lim dislike about China's market. They, in fact, call this predatory liberalism in an article. I'm not joking. Their term is predatory liberalism in an article in the Washington Quarterly. Their basically claim is that China's market is so large that it forces corporations to genuflect to China's geopolitical preferences. Now, this film doesn't really do that. It's just basically kind of nice towards China. But there are like things like airlines, for example, having to put the 9- line in their maps of their flight schedules and so forth. And they will do that because
the 9- line.
Well, the 9- line is Anna, this has been a controversy surrounding Barbie.
I know.
Yeah. So we'll talk about that.
Put that weird cartoon map line in the wrong place. Yeah. Damn it.
The important thing to realize, however, is that in this case, it worked. The film did extremely well in international markets, particularly mainland China. So in this case, yes, this is an example of Hollywood trying to, worm its way into the mainland Chinese market. I think in this case, the fact that it was a joint venture with Gravity Pictures made it easier. And in fact, the Chinese seemed to like it. In fact, Gravity Pictures, I think, was trying to develop a Meg franchise. And I don't know if we'll talk about this more when we talk about the Meg 2, but this is definitely something where the strategy worked in terms of making money.
I thought it was interesting. There was an article about just the talent part of these arrangements, and that things have shifted since the Meg was made.
Absolutely.
In that the power dynamic between Hollywood and China, just on the acting and star level, like it used to be that if Hollywood wanted a Chinese actor in a film, they'd be like, sure, yes, like they're desperate to like get into Hollywood movies. And now it's not that. Now it's not quite tables are turned, but that Chinese actors are a lot more picky about what they're going to be in Hollywood.
I would say good for them. I would also say, however, the power dynamic has also shifted between Hollywood and China in the sense of Hollywood is somewhat less interested now in accessing the Chinese market, in part because the Chinese government has become much more censorious in the 5 years since I think this film got made. I could be right on about that. And so we're at the point now, and like the success of something like Top Gun Maverick is suggesting to Hollywood that they're just sort of throwing up their hands in some cases and saying it's just not worth catering to the Chinese market. In some ways, because even if they do so, China doesn't necessarily allow the film to be made anywhere, or allow the film to be released within China anyway.
Maybe the Chinese actors are getting better. That they recognize their own value. It's a good labor story, Dan.
And I don't have a problem with that. Good for them. Yes.
There are many Meg novels, Dan.
Really?
Yeah.
All written by the same dude?
All written by the same dude. There is Meg, a novel of deep terror.
Yes.
Then The Trench, Meg 2, although it is being released as Meg 2, The Trench.
The Trench, yes.
There is Meg Primal Waters, Meg Hell's Aquarium, Meg Origins, Meg Night Stalkers, Meg Generations, Meg Angel of Death Survival, and Meg Purgatory. I got curious.
How is there not a Meg Tokyo Drift?
I got curious, so I had to look up the plot of one of these. So,
okay.
And this is for Hell's Aquarium, which is the best title.
Oh, good, because that is the best title. Yes.
Angel, the recaptured 76-foot, 100,000-pound megalodon, has birthed a litter of pups, 5 females, far too numerous and aggressive to keep in one pen. A solution. A Dubai royal prince is building the largest aquarium in the world. It must be pretty fucking large, man.
It's Dubai, so yeah.
And seeks to purchase plausible. 2 of the runts of the litter. Mm-hmm. The deal hinges on hiring Jonas Taylor's 21-year-old son, David. Jonas still in the picture there.
Oh, okay.
To be their trainer. Jonas reluctantly agrees, and David goes off to Dubai for the summer of his life, not realizing he's being set up to lead an expedition that will hunt down and capture the most dangerous creatures ever to inhabit the planet.
Wow.
So, and I believe... Okay. I know the twist here, which is there's even bigger sharks. And I'm not sure, but I think that's how the whole series goes.
So I like the idea that in the Meg, we have actually seen the smallest sharks we're going to see in the franchise. So
they just get bigger. The whole book series is the fish eating the fish illustration.
Yes. Well, actually, that's the trailer for Meg 2 also, which is genius. I have to say, it's actually a pretty good trailer. But I like the idea of like the Meg eventually becoming so big it's like an aircraft carrier size or something. We'll have to see if it gets to that level.
All right. I actually was almost going to put the Pippin as a Chekhov's What's It, but Pippin doesn't really. It's early. It's too late in the film to be a Chekhov.
Yeah.
And also, it doesn't really go off. It's just a nice little resolution. Spoiler alert for Pippin fans out there. But we do have a Chekhov's What's It section, Dan.
Yes, this is the thing that often appears in the first act of a film and or book that winds up being relevant or a callback in the third act. Anna, what do you have?
Chekhov's super annoying billionaire.
Rainn Wilson does make him pretty annoying, actually. So yeah,
and there's a bit of a like it's a sort of something on the wall that goes off situations. A little, you know, he's he's up to no good. You don't know quite how. And then
exactly. I admit I was a little surprised by what exactly he did that was no good. So
well, because it doesn't make sense, Dan. That's why.
That's part of it, yes. Yeah. I have Chekhov's raised eyebrows, which we see first from the 8-year-old and then finally from Jonas at the very end.
Yes. 8-year-old, we're going to talk more about her.
Oh, we are. But first we should talk about the plot. Let's get to Act 1. I guess we need a backstory. Jonas Taylor is just your average deep-sea rescue team leader with a Cockney accent and abs of steel, Anna. He's trying to rescue a crew from a sub that's bottomed out in the ocean. And it's bad, Anna. It's real bad. Something seems to attack the sub and compress the hull. Jonas makes the tough call to leave with the rescue sub, abandoning 9 men, including 2 rescue teammates, behind. That's going to haunt him, especially when his account of what happened is dismissed by fellow survivor Dr. Heller, who diagnoses Jonas with pressure-induced psychosis. Sure. Okay.
I like the vagueness of that.
Yeah. It's quasi-plausible is the way I would put it. Yes, sure. 5 years later, a plutocrat named Morris has founded Mono 1, a deep-sea science vessel led by Dr. Zhang, his oceanographer daughter Suyin, and his precocious 8-year-old granddaughter Mei Ying. Their team, led by operations manager Mac and engineers Jax and DJ, send an exploratory vessel to the Mariana Trench to see if what everyone thought was the seabed floor is really just a thermocline of hydrogen sulfide.
Science, Dan.
Yes. Anyway, turns out the answer is yes, Anna. There's a whole different ecosystem down under. Jonas's ex-wife Lori and 2 techs named Toshi, and I swear to God, the second one's name is The Wall, investigate. But then something big knocks their ship around, depriving them of power. Just before the transmission feed is cut, Lori says Jonas was right. Zhang and Mac trek to Thailand in said helicopter that Anna referenced before to coax a dissolute Jonas back to help rescue the team. I'm always somewhat amused when The Rock or some other rip dude, like friend of the pod, Gerard Butler, are supposed to be playing scientists, or experts with some kind of deep level of expertise. How well do you think Statham pulled it off?
Dan, are you saying that scientists and academics are not normally swole?
We're secretly swole on it. We don't like to brag about it.
Swole of the mind.
Yes, exactly. We're mind swole. Yes,
mind swole.
Yeah,
also,
there we go.
I mean, I understand what you're saying here. I do think that experts don't always, wall themselves off in labs.
Experts are not always nerds. That is a fair point.
They're not always nerds.
Yes.
I at some point maybe want to talk to you more about the movie The Deepest Breath, which I am sort of in the middle of watching. It's a documentary about freediving, and it's terrifying.
Oh.
But I thought of the movie not just because they both are, open water, but there's like experts in freediving who are pretty swole.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
They look good. They put their life in other people's hands and on a regular basis and almost die all the time, but they're very swole. I also think that Statham does pretty good. I don't know. I mean, I think in this particular kind of expert character, he carries it off. I mean,
I think the way, let me preface, or let me amend this. I think you're right, because there's two different ways in which you can have an expert or like a character or someone like Statham playing an expert. The first kind of expert is literally a scientist.
Yeah.
And like The Rock in Rampage is like that, which is also what makes it pretty
And Gerard Butler in
Greenland
movie Geostorm.
Oh, Geostorm. Yes. Okay. Geostorm. Yes, exactly. But then there's the second kind of expert, and actually Jonas is the second kind of expert, really, which is a more blue collar type, where they get their hands dirty, they know like a system and so forth. And so I think you're right. In that sense, Statham works well there. That's fair.
He also, he brings the blue collar thing. And also, I think Jason Statham, the way he carries himself, you believe he knows things that you don't.
Yeah, that's a good way. But he has a little smile to himself during a lot of this film, and that actually works in terms of what the character is supposed to be doing.
I think so.
Yeah.
Your question about who should play experts and whatnot in this particular role did make me think about who would be like a serious actor that might be amusing to see in this role.
Okay.
And for some reason, I thought of Christian Bale.
Oh, God. Oh, God. It would be such a depressing film. Like Christian Bale is a great actor, but the thing he doesn't do is smile to himself. That's the thing. And I think you need that with a movie like this. I can see Christian Bale totally going off on a crew member though while this film is being made. I will say, just gonna leave it there. Yeah. Okay. Let's get to Act 2. Cue the giant squid. The wall gets the exploratory vessel's power online. As their lights come on, however, the vessel is hit again by something really big. Laurie gets stabbed by a screwdriver, and their oxygen depletion rate accelerates. Su-Yin decides to attempt a rescue on her own. Jonas arrives and descends as well, diverting all power to the engine to dive faster. Su-Yin spots the damaged vessel, and just as she's about to dock with it, her glider is attacked by, of course, a giant squid. It's about to crush Su-Yin's ship when a giant megalodon shark, and I'm sorry, let me say this in Jason Statham voice, it's a megalodon shark, kills the squid. The Meg is about to kill Su-Yin's ship as well when Jonas arrives and fires flares to distract the shark. Jonas is then able to rescue Laurie and the wall, but Toshi sacrifices himself to distract the Meg long enough to save the others. Back on Mono 1, the crew debate what to do about the existence of the Meg, with Morris wanting to push harder and rebrand it as the X and see if people want to do their banking with... Oh, I'm sorry, Anna. I got that confused with another billionaire. I apologize. Sorry. Anyway, that debate becomes totally moot when the Meg exits the thermocline and attacks Mono 1 after killing a few whales. The station remains intact, but then the shark goes and destroys 3 nearby shark fin fishing ships, and they decide that they have to kill it. They
didn't think about saying that before you wrote it, did you, Dan?
Did I pull it off?
Shark fin fishing ships.
Shark fin fishing ships. I can totally do this. They leave on a ship called the Charlotte. Jonas is able to fire a tracker at the Meg's dorsal fin and is pulled back onto the ship just before the Meg can eat him. Phew. Anna, let's talk about Su-Yin barging into Jonas's room while he's wearing nothing but a towel. I have two
was
questions.
there a scene? Sorry. No,
Yeah, there was a scene. You remember this scene. Let's be very clear. I'm going to be, I guess I have two questions for you. First, are dissolute drunks usually that ripped? Because, dear God, Jason Statham has got like maybe zero body fat in that shot. And second, watching this, and I confess this might be my fragile male ego, like doing some work for me. I kept thinking about something that Amy Schumer once said in an interview about dating dudes with zero body fat like that. She apparently analogized it to like trying to snuggle up with an ice sculpture. Can you confirm or deny? I'm just sort of curious,
Well, as an expert on drunks,
okay. Yeah,
I can call bullshit on Jonas looking like any drunk I've ever known. I mean, if you are wealthy enough and you are, cosseted enough by other people, I guess it's possible theoretically to somehow keep up, but not that.
But
no, sorry,
that
not
is
that.
Not Jonas in this.
Not that. Yeah. No, not that. I mean, not in that level of cutness and swollenness.
Yes, because he is cut.
He does not look like someone waking up on their own piss on a regular basis, which is what
exactly
true dissolute drugs look like. He actually seems like he's having an okay time in Thailand. That's actually the problem in the movie, I think.
Yes, that was true. He seems, like, with the exception of the beers, even like he's really just drinking a beer.
Like, we don't see him like drunk. He's just kind of like, hey, he's just hanging out.
He's pretty mellow, actually. It's like he's chilling. Yeah, I agree.
What I thought of in when you asked that question was the scene in Crazy Stupid Love with Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone. Do you know this scene?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Is it the Dirty Dancing scene?
Yeah, where he takes off his clothes and she just starts laughing.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
He's ridiculous, and that has happened to me.
Good for you.
Where I have been in a romantic situation with a dude who seems pretty good looking, but then takes off his clothes, and I'm like, oh wow, like like it's not quite like my tongue rolls out of my mouth and my eyes bug out like Bugs Bunny, but that's not me. I don't look like that, and I'm fine. I understand. Fine. Yes. I am totally fine in the sense that I am straight sized, as they sometimes say. I can pass, but I'm not going to be on a calendar anytime soon. And I think that just personal experience, it's sometimes kind of weird and insecure making to be with someone who could possibly be on a calendar of some sort. But I think that's being a lady.
Yeah. Also, I'm going to point out, in fairness, within the context of the movie, I think Ling Ling Bai could easily be on a calendar.
Oh yeah.
Su Yin. So there's
no one's
equal levels of hotness.
No one's going to be insecure in that relationship about, is my body as good as that person's?
Right. Yes. So those two crazy kids could work it out as well.
Now, I did have one boyfriend tell me something that made me feel better.
Oh, okay. Do tell.
Which is that in confessing, I'm just never going to have the kinds of, I don't remember exactly how I put it, but it's clear, like, one of us is like working out all the time and has testosterone. And so muscles are rock hard, and mine are like, whatever, how much I work out, I'm never going to look like that unless I'm, professional.
Unless you're juicing.
Right.
Yeah.
And he was like, you know what? I don't want to be with someone who has to measure their food. And I was like, I like that. He was like, I want to date someone who can eat what they want to eat and doesn't have to think, because being incredibly fit, and he was just fit, not like Jason Statham fit. He was like, being that level of fit is a full-time job.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And it's not fun to be with someone who is that level of fit. So.
Okay. Thank you. My fragile male ego has been reassured. I appreciate that conversation.
All right. Cool.
All right. Let's get to Act 3.
Anytime, Dan.
Act 3, what if I told you there were multiple Megs? Su-Yen goes underwater in a plexiglass cage surrounded by chum to shoot the Meg with a lethal dart. Sure enough, a Meg shows up. Su-Yen hits the shark with the dart, but the Meg tries to swallow the entire cage, cracking Su-Yen's mask in the process, causing her to lose oxygen. As it swims away from the boat with it, Jonas dives into the water and gets her out of the cage. The Meg returns and looks all set to attack Jonas and Su-Yen, but it gets snagged on the cage's tow line and finally dies from the poison. Mission accomplished, or so it seems. While they're goofing around and posing with the dead Meg, a Mega Meg leaps out of the water and devours the wall, the dead Mini Meg, and critically wounding Zhang while destroying the Charlotte. Heller then sacrifices himself in the water to save Jax. They get on the rescue dinghies and head back to Mana 1. A helicopter called by Morris on his sat phone shoots a tracking dart and then strafes the Mega Meg. Back on the station, Morris says he's alerted the regional governments and orders an evac ship to take everyone off the station the next morning. Anna, is it me, or is the biggest problem in this film not the plot, not the kind of cardboard thin characters, if we're being honest, but that the CGI shark just wasn't quite believable enough?
It's a problem, for sure. I think that a lot of this movie is pretty competent.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Which is what you need in a B movie, right? You just need competence.
Right.
It doesn't have the swing for the fences factor that you and I both like in good, bad movies. Mm-hmm. It misses that. Like,
no,
there's a lack of ambition here.
Yeah.
It's just trying to be a good movie, and it's kind of a good movie.
And there's nothing, by the way, just to indicate, not every movie should be a swing for the fences movie.
Right.
I like my B entertainment as well, so that's fine.
Right. I do want to point out that, Jaws is an interesting counter example or counter story to this, because right, that the reason why Jaws is as brilliant as it is because the shark was bad. Right.
And Spielberg recognized that he couldn't, I think it was called Bruce, that Bruce the shark, basically, the reason that film works is we barely see Bruce for the first 2/3 of the film. And I think in some ways the mistake in this film is, in fact, that the Meg is revealed much earlier than I think I would have, if I was directing it or if I was choosing it, I would want. And that's one of the issues, I think.
I mean, it's just a totally different kind of movie, but I think it's it was Spielberg's first big movie. It was his first film. Before that, he'd only made Duel.
No, he made Sugarland Express before it. But
that's right.
This was his first summer blockbuster, though.
His first summer blockbuster.
This is the first summer blockbuster.
The first summer blockbuster.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting just to sort of look as far as swing for the fences goes. The what you start out with and what you get. It's the Meg starts big and stays the same, right? They were trying to make a blockbuster and they made a blockbuster.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Spielberg was not given the kind of resources to make something as big as it was. And he did this magic to it. Right.
Yeah.
I recently watched a documentary about the making of Jaws. So I guess I'm just kind of high on what that story looks like in retrospect, especially, but the genius of it and the imagination that he had. Another thing that some people don't know is that they did get actual footage of sharks shot in Australia with a smaller actor. They don't say the word small person or whatever, but they put a shorter than usual actor in a shark cage.
Oh,
to make the shark seem bigger.
The shark seem bigger. Wait, this is for Jaws or for the Meg?
It's for Jaws.
Oh, okay. I was just saying, yeah.
And that the shark wound up attacking the shark cage and doing some damage to it. And they changed the script. The shark was originally going to get killed by one of the dudes in Jaws in the shark cage. That was how the movie was going to end.
The Richard Dreyfuss character. Yeah.
But they wanted to use the footage of the shark getting away because it was so good.
Oh, well, that's, you know what? That's great because the film definitely improves with that extra 10 minutes. Absolutely. Yeah. Good. I'm glad that worked out.
Just a little sidebar on Jaws.
Yeah, which is a better movie than what we're talking about. But that's it. The movie's perfectly fine. Let's close out the plot with Act 4, Panicked Screaming, which I did laugh at because I was watching this with closed captioning, and that occasionally just pops up.
Only way to watch.
Yeah. It turns out, Anna, that Morris lied. Rather than tell any government authorities, he's decided to use his own resources to kill the Mega Meg to avoid litigation. This includes things like jerry-rigged depth charges.
It's a nonsensical part of the movie to me. It's a twist. It's a weird twist. It's a kind of fun twist. Oh, the billionaire is bad. Yay.
Yeah. But, which you sensed all along, I would add. But, you know.
I'm sorry to stop you here, but isn't it weird? Yeah. This is a weird turn. Let me put it this way. I kind of bought it in the sense that, I mean, the line of dialogue that sort of is supposed to explain it away is basically, if they kill the shark, then no governments know about what happens, which means presumably he's somehow invulnerable to litigation. Yeah, that's the part that made no sense to me. And also, he's going to get sued over the...
Oh, he would totally get sued, yeah. But
Oh, I mean, think of the things those people must have had to sign to work in an underwater laboratory, Dan.
That is fair, yes. I grant you that it's not entirely...
think of that fucking sub that exploded, which I thought of in the first part of this movie. The rich guy with the joystick sub that sank.
Oh yeah, the Titanic one. Yeah.
Think about the thing those people had to sign to get on that sub.
Yeah, fair enough. Although this is a little more extravagant, but actually,
I still think there's a lot of "don't sue us" clauses for the scientists.
If we're gonna all right, let me put it this way: if we're gonna go to plausibility on it, the other thing that I was not entirely sure of is why Morris bankrolled this in the first place. Like, there is never a discussion of how this is supposed to make money, and it seems clear that that's what he's expecting it's going to happen. I
guess recent news events have actually made me less certain that billionaires are really interested in making money.
Touche.
I mean, once they've got it, I guess. I don't know. Or that they put much thought into their investments.
That is an excellent point. See what I did there? Yes. Okay. Anyway, guess what? Morris's decision to go after the shark himself doesn't go well, Anna. The chopper that he hires kills a whale instead of the Meg, and Morris dies when the shark eats him along with the whale. The crew on Mono 1 tries to warn the governments themselves, but unfortunately no one is buying their prehistoric shark bullshit. They gear up the evac ship to take out the Meg, which is headed for Sanya Bay, which is a sort of resort in mainland China. The Mega Meg has less fun in Sanya Bay than you might expect. It disrupts a wedding at sea, it wreaks some havoc near the shore, maybe it swallows a few swimmers before the Mono 1 crew uses a whale call to divert its attention towards them. Taylor and Su-Yin use gliders to try to kill a shark, but Jonas's missile misfires and Su-Yin breaks off her attack to save the others when a helicopter crashing into their ship forces everyone into the water. Jonas, however, slices the shark's underbelly with his glider and then stabs it in the eye. The Megameg's blood attracts a swarm of modern sharks that devour the dying megalodon. Jonas, Su-Yin, Mei Ying, and the rest are all rescued by the wedding ship. And, you'll be happy to know, Pippin the dog also lives. And Finn. Anna, I know you're not traditionally crazy about children in general, but particularly child actors. But I gotta say, I actually thought Sophia Kai was extremely good as Mei Ying. In fact, I particularly liked it. There's a scene where she's playing cards with Lori, the ex-wife, and like Lori tells her to get sodas, and she's like, fine, and she like marches out and goes, fine. It's like a small little note, but it was actually really charming. And so I thought she was quite good.
She might have been my favorite character. Like, that is like how good I think she was.
That's good.
She's really kind of a magical little character. Yeah. She's really kind of a effervescent presence, right? Like,
yes, and actually, I would agree. And also, she and Statham actually have a nice little repartee.
They do.
Which is lovely. Yes.
They have a couple of really cute scenes together. Mm-hmm. They have a good vibe. I believe her and him more than I believe her and him.
Ling Bai. Yes, no. It like Su-Yin.
I believe their relationship, not obviously the romantic part of it.
What you're saying.
Yeah.
Let me put it this way: the way I would put it is that Mei Ying and Jonas have more chemistry together in terms of just vibing off each other, whereas with Su-Yin and Jonas, I kind of feel like the director was like, if we just keep throwing them in enough scenes,
it's sort of like
something will happen.
If to make a very current reference, when you're a kid and you bang your Ken and Barbie together, like thinking like, this is how grown-ups kiss.
Yes, there you go. Yeah.
I felt like they were just kind of like being like faces banged together, kind of like that level of chemistry, you know?
Yeah.
Which actually, just talk about the acting just a little bit.
Sure.
In general, I think Statham is good. I think Sophia Kai is good. Yeah. I think Rainn Wilson is good. I mean, the acting is mostly just okay. I think actually Statham and Sophia Kai actually are the two best in it.
I agree. Let me say this. I don't normally like Ruby Rose as an actress.
You know what? Yes.
But I actually did. I was okay with her in this one. Like, she actually has a personality in this one. And a lot of the movies she's been in, she somewhat, for some reason, like, plays very stone-faced people. And like this one, she actually was moderately interesting. I don't know. I agree. I feel bad for her for that hair. I think someone did that to her. It's not her fault. I think someone actually makes a joke about that in the movie. Yeah.
Who did that to you? And I'm like, that's exactly. She did not do her hair like that. I do not believe. Yeah. I did have to look up because there's so many tattoos. Like, she has like just the character has all these tattoos, and I was like,
are they all hers?
They are. Yeah.
Yeah, I figured. Yeah.
Yeah, because I'd be like, that amount of time and makeup it would take. Like if you made your character have that many tattoos, and it's just like kind of not really a main character, the poor makeup staff, the poor.
The other thing I will say,
and didn't have to cover them either, like they have to do with Ben Affleck's, and why the makeup people hate him.
It's true. The other thing I will say is, to be fair to Ling Ling Bai, I think actually the most affecting scene is actually when she and her father are talking, when her father is about to die. And I don't think it's a coincidence that scene actually works, that it's in Mandarin.
Yeah. Because
it's clear, like, they're just acting then. It's not like either of them trying to speak English and getting the intonation right. And it's well done.
And that's another thing about the movie that I think you don't, it's either you kind of notice it because it's rare in English speaking movies to have two characters, even if they are not native English speakers, speak to each other in their native language.
Yeah.
You usually just continue to speak in English, right? Like even if you're on screen, just the two of you.
Let me put it this way. That's a case where
continue to speak in English.
Right.
That is a case. It's noticeable that they don't continue to speak in English.
I agree, and that's also a case where it's clearly simultaneously they're trying to get mainland Chinese to watch the film, but also it's entirely appropriate that they do that. That makes total sense. So like,
I noticed it. Like when she and Mei Ling are talking to each other in Mandarin, part of me was like, that is how mother and daughter, like that's how it would work, right? Although it's also noticeable just because we Westerners are so used to it.
Yeah.
Anyway, speaking of how things work, Dan.
Yes, Anna?
Is there IR in this actual movie?
Anna, you're going to ask me a question, and I'll say no. You're going to offer me money. I'll still say no. Then you're going to appeal to my Kantian nature. And I'm going to say no, because I don't have one. But for old time's sake, I'll proffer an answer, which is that there's a smidgen of IR in this film, but way less than there is in the making of this film.
Did you practice, Dan?
I didn't. Was that okay?
It's good. Okay? It's good. I like it. I like it. I like it. I mean, we'd have to come up with like a rating scale for you and the accents that you attempt.
Fair enough. Yes.
That was good. That was good. On a scale of 1 to 10, a scale of like, well, let's see, like your Trump one, maybe not your best work. That one's definitely like
excellent
in the plus side.
Okay, I might have practiced a little. Okay. Honestly, the IR in this film is just very minute. And like, could Jonas beat up Heller because they're in international waters? Maybe, sure, but I'm pretty sure the ship is, or the station is registered somewhere. And like, there's probably civil litigation that would be able to happen.
People think that international waters just means free for all.
Yeah, right. It's just like this magic state. It's like in The Office when Michael Scott declares bankruptcy, yelling, "I declare bankruptcy." It's like this magic thing of, we're in international waters, we can do whatever we want. It's like it's
murder.
It's a purge situation, Anna. Like I'm pretty sure that doesn't work. Is the dialogue, when Zhang says, we did what people always do, discover and then destroy, supposed to be a comment about colonialism? Maybe, although I'm going to point out Zhang has no leg to stand on in making this argument, since after all, he's built the goddamn station and is trying to explore the thing that they wind up exploring. So like, the idea that Zhang is somehow blameless in this, nope. Does the Meg represent Mother Nature attacking mankind for its hubris and wastefulness? Maybe that's what the film is like vaguely referencing, but much like they clone Tyrone, it like the idea doesn't quite cohere.
But let's just say they clone Tyrone.
It's much better film. Yes. Now, as I said, the real IR is the IR in the making of the film rather than what's in the film. It's the myriad ways the script and the director tried to get enough China content into it to make sure that it would appeal to an international audience, particularly Chinese. And in that sense, mission accomplished, as I said. So, yeah. But Anna, I have a question for you.
Yes, Dan.
Is there a critique of capitalism in this film?
Dan, I'm not crazy. I just seen things. I was about to go Texan. I just seen things no one else has had.
Do you want me to say it? Sure,
you go ahead.
Hold on, here we go. I'm not crazy. I've just seen things no one else has. Like a critique of capitalism in this movie. I mean, you really have to squint. Like Jason Statham shouting at a giant shark squint. But hit it, Anna.
You're my accent stand-in. I really appreciate that, Dan. Yeah, as much as with the IR, like I don't know.
Yeah.
There's the colonialism thing. You mentioned briefly, is it sort of a cautionary tale, right? About Mother Nature attacking mankind. The beach scene, I think, is really interesting in
Sonya Bay, yeah.
Yeah. For me, it sort of shows like it's the terror that I personally have of crowded beaches, even without sharks, like the commodification, the litter. There's a very pointed, I don't know if you notice, at least I noticed it seemed pointed to me when they do an underwater shot at Sunyan Bay?
Sanya
Bay?
Sanya, I think so. Yeah.
Sanya Bay, where you see a bunch of litter at the bottom.
Yes, I did notice the litter. Yes, yeah. I did notice that.
So, I mean, commentary there, commercialization, commodification, homogenization, crowded beaches are bad. I don't know. Not much there. I think, Dan, this movie is an ad for capitalism. That's what I think. I mean, it's the power of the dollar, right? Like, the making of this movie is also where it's where the IR is, and not the critique of capitalism, unless you count like China's communist, which we can't really.
The fact that Morris is a dick, or
yeah. The making of this movie has the IR and that is an ad for capitalism. So,
I will say that it was interesting to me that clearly you're supposed to. How do I put this? Not really like the people in Sanya Bay. I mean, it's shot in such a way that you're supposed to think, oh, okay, you know what? If the shark eats these people, that's just going to be good, clean fun. It's not going to be anything really, problematic.
It's almost like the movie shifts even more to a comedy, which looks like Meg 2 might have even more.
I get the impression Meg 2 is going for that. I agree with that. Yes. But again, the weird thing about the Chinese viewers of this film are right. Given what we've seen the Meg do up to that point in the film, when it actually goes to Sanya Bay, truthfully, not nearly as much carnage as I was expecting.
Yeah, I agree. I think that the movie is, in a way, more interesting as a document itself than it is as a movie.
Yeah, I agree. That's a fair way of putting it. I did like when they popped, there was that guy in the bubble and the shark, eats the bubble. That was funny.
I'm also kind of a sucker for scenes in movies, horror movies, where they make a chaotic environment and you really don't know where the horror is going to come from. I mean, it's not a difficult trick.
It goes back to Jaws, actually. Yeah.
Right. It's not a difficult trick because this movie can do it, but Jaws invented it and it works. It works.
Yeah.
It works.
Yeah. It's actually effective.
It's ripping metal, pressure, into water.
It's time for Discordant Notes. This is when we take questions from our patrons who ask them in the Discord and then answer them in the podcast. This question comes from Billy West in Space, which is basically, did we think the Meg was better or worse than Sharknado? Which is a sci-fi classic.
Have you seen Sharknado, Dan?
Oh, I saw Sharknado. Anna, speaking of Twitter once was.
Oh, back in the day.
No, I'm not kidding. I actually think the high point of Twitter was when Sharknado first aired. And for some reason, a lot of us on political Twitter all started watching it at the same time. And it was we were just tweeting it nonstop. It honestly might have been my favorite moment on Twitter ever.
Good times, Dan.
Yes.
Good times.
Yes. Because it was such a dumb movie.
It was such a dumb movie. I don't think it doesn't appeal to me. I've never seen it, so I can't say if it's better or worse. The movies that are attempting to go for good, bad explicitly are not my favorite genre. I think the Meg was going for B movie, but not good, bad movie.
Right. I agree.
And there's a difference. I mean, you're going. Sorry.
Go ahead.
I'll finish my thought. Sorry.
I
mean, I think that the Meg was going for B movie, but not good, bad movie. It's not going for camp, right?
Yeah.
I think camp is really tricky. Ask Susan Sontag. It is more difficult to get to and it's harder to get to if you're going for it super consciously, right? And so Sharknado never really appealed to me. I think that to the extent the Meg really works, it's actually in a little bit that it tries to be what it is. It's just trying to be a monster movie. It's not trying to be too self-referential or too clever. or have too many like super funny deadpan lines. There's a couple of good lines. Some of them are intentionally good. Some of them trying to be good and not. But actually, I would say that the writing is just, it's again, serviceable. It's just trying to be what it is. Whereas something like Sharknado, it's trying to be funny.
Yes.
And I don't know. It makes me sad sometimes to watch movies that are trying to be funny.
So I would put it this way.
Art. Sorry, an art.
No. I get it. First of all, this film is technically just a much better film. Like, there's actual underwater scenes. The acting is in general better. The special effects, even with the CGI shark, are much better. There's actual crowd shots and so on and so forth. And as you're right, the difference is that Sharknado is aiming at camp. I will say Sharknado kind of succeeded at the camp level in a surprising way. And again, maybe it's just because of the implausibility of a shark tornado, which is what the film was. By the way, the one thing the two films have in common, they both end with Finn. They both end with like the shot of FI, which is just, I find very amusing.
Yeah.
But I will just say that, maybe watching it on my own, Sharknado was a little more fun. Or I don't know, connecting via Twitter. Like partially it's the different memories. So I think you're right though. They're two different things. The Meg is a B film that's really as much of an action film more than anything else. Sharknado is intended for camp. So yeah.
I think we answered his question, Dan.
What's that? Wait, something's hitting us below the Mariana Trench. Something big, Anna.
He's a whale.
Oh, yeah.
Debris field.
Yep.
Where we talk about the stuff we didn't already get a chance to talk about. I have some stuff. Dan, do you have some stuff?
I do have some stuff. I can start this time. One thing, which again, like, just the degree to which they're trying to cater to the Chinese market. Honestly, what was hysterical was in the very beginning of the film, like it cuts to 5 years later after the sort of backstory thing. They show a shot of the Shanghai skyline. They say Shanghai. You see a helicopter leaving Shanghai, and that is the last we see of Shanghai. There was no reason to inform us that was Shanghai. Like, literally, the helicopter then lands at Mono 1. That's where the rest of the film takes place. I have no idea why they had the establishing shot for Shanghai, except they needed an establishing shot of a Chinese city. It was just very funny they did that.
Dan, it wasn't space computer automation saying something silly, but there was computer automation saying something silly. Did you notice?
Okay. I think I might have. I noticed something else. You tell me what.
System go for descent.
Oh,
System go for descent. System go for descent.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
I'm going to keep doing it because it keeps going.
That was because Jonas is having his 1 second of PTSD before he goes down.
But also, I don't think that's how computer automated systems work. They just keep repeating to you that the system is go for descent.
True. Also, I'm just thinking that repeating is not going to help Jonas's state of mind. Like,
no, it's not. And also, there's pointless. You don't need to be told. System is go for. It's not like, so I have my very fancy refrigerator dings if you leave the door open, right?
Right. Yeah, I got
But
that.
it only keeps dinging because you need to be alerted to do something to change it.
Right, exactly.
It's
saying ready to go, you don't need to have anything else. Yes, I agree. Yep, absolutely fair.
There you go.
Speaking of computer stuff, I don't know if you noticed this, when they finally realize it's a megalodon, they show a video of a megalodon shark. Like there's actually a computer screen where the shark is swimming for some reason. I don't know why. I just found that was hysterical.
I liked that because it looked like it was from like nationalgeographic.com or something. Like it seemed like it was like some random thing someone pulled up on the web to like.
Yes, it was just like,
this is what we're after.
We totally have a file of a megalodon. Sure. Okay. Yeah.
Not that the science in this film should be even talked about, but
really no.
There's also in the system go for descent. Not only does he then descend, he descends really fast.
Right.
It's all the power into the
descent.
Descent. And they're like, oh no, he's going to stroke out because he's going down so fast and his nose bleeds. Dan, the reason why people go to ocean depths in submarines is that they're pressurized vessels.
So it's almost like it doesn't matter how quickly they...
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Ah. Wow, science, Anna. I didn't realize that. That's good.
Inside the vessel is the atmosphere that you need, and it doesn't change. That's the whole point of sorry.
It's okay.
Shouldn't bother me. Of all the things that bother me.
This is what the debris field is about, Anna.
That's right.
It's where we get to.
It's the stuff that shouldn't bother us, but does.
Yes. So as I referenced before the sort of Zhang's death scene, and it was like a nice acting moment between the two Chinese stars. The thing that I was amused by is that it was also clearly an Asian tiger dad moment, because if you recall, like, Suyin says, "I never felt like I could live up to you," and Zhang finally says, "No, you've lived up to me. You in fact exceeded me." And it was just, I don't know why. Like, I was like, "Oh, that is a very Chinese death scene." Is all I wanted to say there.
There's a lot of improbable survival in this movie. There's a lot of close calls and a lot of things where you're like, if the shark was really that dangerous, they would be dead by now.
Honestly, like, legit impressed Jack survives. Like, she should have died at least 3 times. Yeah,
that was she's her scenes are one of the reasons I was going to point out that they give each other a lot of advice about safety in the water that actually, given the Meg, would be pointless. Like, there's a lot of the whole, like, I think it comes from Jaws. I'm not even sure if it's true. Like, just move calmly and slowly and the shark won't see you.
Right. I do wonder, do you wonder if there was okay, and I'm going to probably butcher this word. I believe a shark expert is an ichthyologist.
Yeah, I think that is it. Yes.
I wonder if there was an ichthyologist consultant for this.
No,
film.
Ichthyologists were harmed in the making of this movie, Dan.
I'm sure what they want to say is no ichthyologists were involved in the making of this film.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to grant that maybe this is a Gen X thing, because I think it's been proven to be somewhat exaggerated. But I have to admit, it bothered me incredibly when that kid goes into the water and he's still eating. I kept thinking, come on, you got to wait a half hour. All right, you're going to cramp up otherwise. Don't do that. Why are you going in the water and eating something? And then my favorite part is that after the Meg swims through, they cut back to him. He's still eating.
Yeah, it does bother me. I'm concerned. I'm not a mother, as we all know, but I guess a tiny bit of maternal concern.
There we go.
The kid.
Okay.
I did like something.
Okay.
Here in the debris field, I appreciated that there's not really like a chivalrous tone to Statham's protectivity. The way he tries to get Sun Yin to like not do stuff. Like, it's not like you're a woman, you shouldn't do it. He's just sort of, I'm going to do it because I'm the expert. It's very subtle. Maybe I'm wrong, but did you notice that there doesn't seem to be like a gendered?
I think part of maybe credit to Ling Ling Bai on this one, which is that she doesn't play it in that way either. In other words, her attitude is, I can do any of that. I'm. Yeah,
it's not questioned. Her talents are never questioned.
Right. Her competence is just given, and the way she acts, and the way Statham acts, and the way everyone else acts, she's just treated as competent in terms of what she's doing. And so I agree with you on that point.
Yeah, the reasons why he steps in at any time is actually, they're pretty good reasons.
Right.
Like, when her ship is injured, her ship is injured, Dan. Mm-hmm. Like, when something goes wrong with the glider, that's when he's like, you need to leave. Like, he's also, not like, you can't do this.
Right, and she's the one who goes into the plexiglass case. He's fine with that. Like, so, I agree. That's
so good. I guess I wasn't imagining things. I liked that her competence wasn't questioned.
Yeah. My last point, just, good for Pippin. I was worried that Pippin wasn't going to make it, and glad to see that Pippin did. I knew, watching this, I was like, oh, I forgot there was a dog in this. Oh, I hope that dog makes it, because otherwise Anna's going to be pissed. But I was glad.
Yeah, I had the same. My last note also, for all the Pippin stands out there, I will be consider it a missed opportunity if Meg 2 does not have a callback to Pippin.
That's a good point. Yes.
I will bet you now, Dan, that there's a callback to Pippin. If I was making that movie, like Pippin 2 or something.
It would be Pippin Meg 2. It would be Meg 2, the Pippining.
The Pippining. I guess the Pippin 2. Pippin 2, the trench. All right. Well, I think that's about it, Dan. I just got my notification. There's a new episode of Foundation on later. How are you liking? How are you liking the current season?
I'm liking it a little better than the last one.
They've left the books far behind.
Yeah, that's a good thing. Like, as I think, based on what I read when we read the book, and based on what I watched in the show, everything I liked in the show had very little to do with the actual book. So that is promising.
And there's Lee Pace is being given some fun things to do. Also,
correct. Yes.
I don't know if you've noticed, but
I don't think I've noticed quite as acutely as you've noticed, Anna, but I acknowledge that Lee Pace's. Actually, what's nice to see is which again, as you point out, they've gone way off book. Is Salvor and Gale actually?
Yeah.
So that's been lovely to see as well.
Yeah. All right. Well, we got to get to that. We have some other stuff we're getting to, including, as we've said, Meg 2. And until then, Dan.
Keep this channel open for more.